Cincinnati's ready for the Big 12. It was time for them.
I am fired up.
It's a blessing to be able to be in this league with y'all, putting on for UC.
Cincinnati, a basketball school for...
And there he goes. Touchdown! Bearcats!
Brookwamba again. Another slam inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Brandon. He's Darin, and this is episode 100 of the podcast. Darin, welcome in and welcome back to the city, sir.
Thanks. Yeah, good to be back. It kind of sucks not waking up with the ocean outside my window, but hey, it's good to be back home, I guess.
Absolutely, man. You came back at the right time. You went down south and you brought the winning ways back with you. The Bearcats 3-0 on the weekend here after 2 basketball wins, and of course our football friends finally getting their first Big 12 win. I got the Cyclops glasses on, the visor on. I'm still hyped from that win, 24-14 over the Houston Cougars. I'm ready to talk about it, man. I don't think I'm going to leave these on too long here in the studio because it's hard to see everything around me. But I just wanted to throw these on here just to let everyone know that the vibes are high tonight.
Oh, the vibes are incredibly high. I actually didn't get the chance to watch the game in its entirety to start out. Had to go back and watch the parts I missed. But when I got home, Emory was leading a drive and we were up 17-7. So I was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, here we are. Let's see if we can finish this out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's episode 100 here. I'm going a beer straight from the can, Darin. I don't do that very often here, but one of my favorites, a classic go-to, Founders All Day IPA. Nothing too crazy here, although we might have to break out another beer once this one's done, since it is the 100th episode. Maybe that one will be a little bit more special. But that's what I'm drinking here. Founders All Day. That's what I went with to start the show off. Of course, have to shout out our sponsors. It's time for a beer is brought to you by the Delhi Liquor Store. They have you covered not only with a great beer selection with new beer drops almost every day, but everything you need for a great tailgate from wine, liquor, and cigars. Be sure to check out the downstairs tap room as well. So, you got anything on deck? Or are you all partied out from?
Yeah. So we didn't have time to really stop in to the store and stock up. So I had to get creative. A little bit of fun fall adult beverage here. Just a nice little hard apple cider. So,
ooh,
mention on screen
nice.
There.
Very nice. Now, is this a homemade concoction?
Just the base cider, but then throw a little bit of fun stuff in there.
Did you go with bourbon or did you go with a spiced rum?
I had to go a very light taste of vodka on there. So
okay.
Like I said, work with what I had. So we haven't really stocked back up. We kind of like emptied out the fridge and emptied the bottles before we headed out of town. Between the wedding and the honeymoon. So.
Well, respect. I've not. Maybe I don't know. I'll have to put that in my pocket to try that later. Yeah, it'll do in a pinch, right?
Yeah.
Very nice. What you I guess let's talk with I guess the biggest news of the weekend is the Bearcats finally winning a Big 12 football game. The basketball season just getting started, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about on that end as well. But let's start off with the football Bearcats. Like we said, 24-14 win over Houston. We saw almost a different team out there, a team that wasn't shooting themselves in the foot, wasn't making dumb mistakes, wasn't breaking on easy plays, a team that looked like they finally put it all together, and that was enough for a win on the road, which is never easy, especially in the Power 5 level.
Yeah, I definitely would say this is looking like a different team. I think we saw a little bit of that last week against UCF. Last week was obviously just kind of the tail of the season. leading on paper in every stat except the one that counts the box score, or the actual score. The run game has been working. That seems like it's been picking up. Emery, he looks like he has a little bit of fire lit under him. Some competition now. I've said before, he's best in motion when he's just kind of running and gunning. But we saw as complete of a game as we can see from this team so far. They still made some silly mistakes, but they were able to close it out and win in spite of themselves this time.
That's a good way to put it. Win in spite of themselves, which is, kind of what they did. I'm trying, to think back and to the game. There's a lot of stuff happening here since then. I think the tear that Corey Kiner has been on in the past 5 games, maybe, but especially Oklahoma State maybe being the outlier, but what he did against Baylor, what he did against UCF, and what he did Saturday against Houston, all over the century mark. I think he has sort of been the key, or the key to keeping us in those games. All those games outside of Oklahoma State were close, and Saturday against Houston, it just all came together. I mean, he's 129 yards on 23 carries. He was definitely getting it done. What do you think about Kiner's recent success here for the Bearcats?
Yeah, I think you're right. It started with Baylor. At that point, it was 15 for 129 that day. Oklahoma State, 79 yards, not a bad day out, but obviously just a more talented team, so they're going to find a way to stuff what we're good at and limit that. Against UCF, 19 for 114 and a touchdown. And then, of course, like you said, 23 for 129 yesterday for 516 and 2 touchdowns. Could have been 3, but he kind of got stuffed there when we were trying to pad the stats. With a long of 62. I think he's the hot back right now. We're going with what works. He's running like a man angry at the ground. And he's even seems like he's starting to kind of find that other gear and see the holes better. He's obviously not going to burn you with like a 4.3 speed, but he's getting upfield now. He's making the good first contact, finding his next step and going. And I think that running back room has really taken the challenge that Satterfield laid down earlier in the season at this point.
I think there's been some. The competition is always healthy. Miles Montgomery has put in work, and then even translating that competition to the quarterback situation. I think Bearcats fans have been pretty underwhelmed by what Emory Jones has put on the field this season, and he didn't. I think what he threw for like 130 yards against Houston didn't seem to have the dumb mistakes that he's had in the past. But we've what is this, the second game in a row that we've seen Brady Lichtenberg come in during the second quarter and sort of like be, he's QB1 for the second quarter in at least 2 games in a row now. So, knowing that the job just isn't simply yours, is that inspiring a little better play? I still don't think it's where we want it to be, but maybe a little better.
Yeah. I think this is what we need from him. To make throws when we need him to, and manage the game. That's kind of the best you can ask in this situation when you're trying to build a team out, and as a year 1 coach and implement a run first offense. And then obviously, he's a dual threat. So you want him to be able to run first, pass when you need to, and then work in conjunction with the running game when he's not getting the ball himself. And he seems like he's been on a steady improvement. He even had a really solid game against UCF. Obviously, a bad throw for an interception that game, but I think he's really starting to put it together with the running game starting to grow into its own. With that being a threat now, he can sit in the pocket a little bit longer and make the first, second read and then go if need be. The pocket awareness isn't completely there, but he played well enough that it didn't matter. I saw probably two hurries or sacks that were more on him. One was just more of his blind side and sort of on Williams for forcing Kiner to try to pick up that block. The other was just he straight up just was got pasted. He was in there too long. But other than that, I mean, he played a good game. He only he missed only 3 of his attempts. I mean, so getting an 83% completion or 81% completion game out of him was nice. We're not asking him to throw up a ton of yards passing. Just be enough in that situation. He played a clean game. How much of that is Brady licking the rubber pushing him? Who really knows? We're not inside their heads all day. But it's good to see him work. It's good to see this offense work the way that Sat is intending it to. We're kind of starting to see the vision come into play here.
One thing that it seems like that's changed a little bit, like early in the season, Emory Jones definitely relied on Xavier Henderson, right? They played together before. They obviously have a connection and a relationship. Trust, Emory Jones trusts him, I guess. Whether it's for whatever reason, it seems like he dominated the passing game early on in the season, and it was almost to the detriment of the offense. Now this pass or against Houston, we had 9 different receivers or tight ends catch a pass. 5 of them with more than 1 reception. So I think, of course, I mean, Lichtenberg only threw it 4 times when he was in the game, but it seems like he's spreading it around more. He being Emory Jones, and maybe that's whether that's building trust in the wide receivers or just them being able to get open now, whatever it is. I think that has helped unlock some ability to not only get up and down the field, which we never really had a problem doing, but also turning red zone visits into touchdowns as well.
Yeah, I think some of that too is just confidence. It seemed, like I said, like UCF started to kind of put it back together again. Even though even not every pass was amazing that game. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we didn't come out with a dub, but you could start to see a lot of those passes go on target a little bit more. They're putting in more catchable positions. Fast forward to this game. I didn't see too many throws sail wildly when they need to. He made some things happen in motion while on move. I thought the touchdown to Miles Montgomery was sharp. Because he was facing down pressure on that. They're coming. And then obviously he probably threw his best pass we've seen all season to Aaron Turner. Aaron Turner unfortunately just drops it. But I went back and looked at it today. It was just straight money. Like that is the deep ball we've been promised, from him all year. And it looks like he is starting to put it together. He's starting to settle down more. I said earlier, I said before, he's better on the move. So when he's out of the pocket and making the defense have to move around that, he picks the spots or he takes off. And then even he's 5-step, 3-step drop, set, throw deep. we didn't have to gas like, oh, well, who's he throwing this to? Try to get there on the money each time. Again, 13 for 16. Didn't set the world on fire, but a clean game nonetheless.
You would think with the Bearcats going into the game, I think they were 5th in the country in rushing yards. You think that would eventually open up the passing game a little bit. I think it did a little on Saturday against Houston. But one thing I wanted to bring up here, Darin, is you and I we've talked a lot about the shortcomings, not only of the offense, but the offensive line.
Yeah.
So I want to give flowers where flowers are due, since I've hammered the offensive line in this program since the inception of this podcast for 100 episodes now. It seems to have been a lingering problem. But the Cincinnati football Twitter account put out this stat that I kind of blew my mind. So Luke Kandra, the elder product who was at Louisville and then transferred back, they tweeted out that he is the highest graded right guard in the Power 5. He had 0 penalties in 9 straight games at the time, and is helped paving the way to 225.5 rushing yards per game. I thought that was pretty incredible, and something that's kind of flown under the radar so far this year. Is maybe the line has a couple spots, long way to go, but at least we have one position here that's been on lockdown for the entire season.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke Kandra, and you can see the way he carries himself. He lets his play do the talking. He tries to pull anytime there's a scrap up, from the offensive side. He tries to pull guys out of trouble. Just in a way, strong silent during the game. And really the interior of that line is where our strength is. The tackles could use a lot of work. There's just times they're just getting blown up off the edge, or they're just sitting there and the guys are already running by them, and they're just like, well, I'll block someone else. Meanwhile, everybody's getting blown up behind them. It was interesting because the guys were the announcers were giving UC credit about how this line, and again, lines take time to grow together, especially when it's a new concept for guys who are still here, and not used to what the coach wants to run. So there's a chance next year for them just to get better as a unit. There's a chance for them to all be back next year. The big thing I think they're waiting on is Tinsley has a possible extra year that he can dip into. So I mean, if that's the case, you hope next year they really take a step forward. It's not always the case when a line is intact that it's as good as it's supposed to be. But that's your hope. If we get them under, the same guys under a year or two of the coach and offensive coordinator.
What just keeping things on the offensive side of the ball here, that's dominated the first 18 minutes here of the show. What Satterfield has been criticized, right? Play calling, decision making. I know we won 3 games. We got 2 games left, West Virginia and Kansas. But I think I've reached the point, Darin, where if it's the first half, or even if it's maybe halfway into the third quarter, and we're inside the 30, almost maybe in the red zone, let's just take the points. Let's just kick a field goal. I've changed my stance on that. I would have been just go for it. We're sort of desperate enough to score touchdowns here in the red zone and whatnot, but I think we've not converted it enough to where I can say, let's just kick a field goal and take the points. I would be fine with that. Now, if it's the fourth quarter and we got to, do something crazy and try to make a comeback or something, or we're, whatever the circumstances, I'd be a little bit more, into it. But first part of the game, just take the points, take it early, and go for it late if we need to.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for the opposite reasoning. I don't think the red zone issues are as big as issues as they have been. Like I said, it seems like we've started to put things together. That red zone curse was broken, 3-4 games ago. Obviously, they weren't scoring every drive, but it seems like we've gotten to the point where you can trust us to at least get some points out of trips now. And have faith that they will find a touchdown some other point in the game. So I'm with you. Take the points. There's a chance for this game to have finished, 37, 31-7 at some point. But yeah, I'm with you. Take the points, especially when you're leading at that point. You just kind of add to it. Yeah. Obviously, you don't have to go field goal every time, unless that's just how it's working that day. But I have enough faith that they can get points later. or at least get 7 later, that they shouldn't have to worry about getting it then, and just take what's available to you.
If we flip the side of the ball here, it seemed like all season long we could not create a turnover to save our lives. I mean, the Oklahoma game, I think we had the opportunity to pick off Dylan Gabriel 3 times, hit us in the hands, and we dropped it. Just whatever it may be, it just didn't bounce our way. Saturday against Houston, we had 3 interceptions. One by Dorian Jones, one by Ken Willis, and the interception, I'm going to call it, by Deshaun Pace. I don't know if you were watching that play live or if you went back and saw it, but that was a wild sequence of events there for Deshaun Pace, picking the ball off, would not go down. People were in the Discord were like, just go down. I don't want him to go down. I just want him to protect the ball. Just tuck this ball in. He's out here like Cam Newton or something back in the day. And then of course he ends up fumbling it, and I mean, it's basically, we could look at it like a 40-yard sack or something that, it definitely set him back a ways, but man, it'd have been nice to have been able to punch that in after that interception. It was like an empty interception, I guess you could call it, because it went right back to him. Just had me on the edge of my seat yelling in my living room.
Yeah, I think that's just the Coleraine baller in him, honestly, more than anything. He's always been like that when he's gotten picks. I mean, think about how often he used to get picks back in 2021. He used to fight for every single yard that he could get on those. It's been a while, so maybe he just kind of forgot how to do it. That's one of those things that would have sunk us a week or two ago. Where we would desperately at least needed that field position to at least secure an extra 3 points that would have been a difference maker. But the defense was playing well enough that night to secure that drive. And he actually had a pretty good night outside of that. Just goofy. I think that's the Coleraine in him. Hard to take that out. When you're just a freak athlete and you can make people miss like that. Sometimes a little too much confidence. And like you said, you guys got to protect the ball. Also, this defensive backfield, we had two new starters. Young did not see the start like normal. So we had 2 freshmen start for us. Satterfield, has said, he said last week, he's like, we're going to work with who we get in the weight room. And then even the week before that, he was like, we're going to start looking at some of these younger guys and give some guys who haven't had a chance to play yet to play. At this point, if you saw people screaming for this, probably earlier than they should have, even when we weren't eliminated from bowl eligibility, they're like, oh, might as well give the young guys a chance to play. These are the future. I'm like, well, let's not do that just yet. We still have a chance to turn around.
Yeah.
At this point, you see the staff assessing what they have and sending a message too to some guys that their spot on defense isn't secure. They played well enough when called upon to do so. I think that really sent a message to Young, because when he finally got back in the game and played the rest, he was playing really well. The pass breakups, I won't say he was total lockdown, but he did what we needed to.
For sure. I thought I did think the secondary seemed to be. I thought they played well, being the young guys. I know Houston's wide receiver. He was a beast, Manjack.
That guy annoyed me.
Yeah, he annoyed me too. But he's the one that took the ball away from Pace on that interception. But it seemed like every time Houston made a play, it was that guy. And kudos to him though. He was a beast. His longest reception was only 7 yards.
Yeah,
that's kind of wild. He only had 4 of them. It seemed like he had 40 of them. I don't know what was happening there. He was just everywhere.
Yeah. Combination of Raycon Atkins, Kellen Carroll, Jordan Young. as far as a rotation on that, they did well enough to keep him. Well, they actually really kind of spread him around, actually. So I think everybody matched up with him at some point that night. The only person who really, I think, kind of got an earful was Threats, because he ended up giving him a second chance at a touchdown because of the pass interference. But other than that, he was the only one that really could do anything for them all night. Probably just kind of their king of hustle. Every team's got one, someone who's got the talent and the fighting spirit to be everywhere at once and make the plays. But yeah, I mean, kudos to our young guys. And as annoying as it is that we're in a situation where we have to play freshmen and sophomores, it's going to pay off in the long run to give them this experience. And even Young himself is only a sophomore player out there starting. So like we were already in a defensive back room that was full of young guys and lost some talent. So to see all these guys get some snaps and the future's bright. I'm not too worried about what's to come, but they played well, especially when called on. It's when a young guy gets told, "Hey, you're suiting up," kind of at the last second. There's not time to think, and generally you see a performance where they tend to ball out a little bit. So proud of them for sticking with it and having short memories when they did get in trouble. Defensive line lived in the backfield all night. There are some moments where where they kind of blew by the coverage a little bit, but overall they were back there. They were getting sacks. They were getting hurries. That problem kind of showed itself again where you have a running quarterback dual threat who you go downhill and he busts free for another 15, 14 yards until someone tackles him. Other than that, I think they played really well.
For sure. I mean, I think with West Virginia being I don't know, hot and cold, certainly not consistent. We can see what happens this coming week. Kansas, they just got upset by Texas Tech. And again, if we can not hurt ourselves and try to beat ourselves, should be two games where we're in it and able to make some noise. So I really liked what Coach Satterfield, his speech he gave to the players in the locker room right after the win, talking about the adversity and how they're, instead of falling apart at the seams, they seem to be coming together and rallying around each other, which is what you want the team to see. You don't want to hey, we've lost 7 straight, forget this, there's no buy-in. We've talked about this before. After the Iowa State game, you want to see the team double down and can keep the fight alive. And they've done that. They did that Saturday. Hopefully they can continue to do that and maybe put some things together here for the end of the season.
I mean, could you imagine how mad people are going to be if we somehow rattle off the last 2?
I'll be really mad because my over that I bet on was 5.5. So to get to 5, I'm going to be pretty mad about that. I'll take what I can get though. I'll take the wins. I'll worry about being disappointed about my shitty betting skills.
I mean, I'll put it this way. No one likes to lose.
Mm-hmm.
With the way people talk about Satterfield, you think that would be the case, that they think he loves to lose? Even he's never lost 7 straight before as a coach.
Yeah.
That's unheard of for him. He was shocked by it. I mean, these players definitely have never lost. Anybody who's been in our program have never lost 7 straight to this point. Some guys have never lost, more than a few games since high school. So it's definitely a shock. But if you can come out on the other side better, I think it's going to build a strong foundation. And again, like I said, this is not a guy who likes to lose. He doesn't wake up and say, "Hey, let me take a program that the sky isn't falling," at least not yet. let's give it a chance to fall at this point because we really have no choice.
Yeah,
he's here. It sucks to see a rival you take the coach from, and they find better success with him gone, and you're getting crap for it. You're not having a great time with your season. It's gonna hurt regardless. It's gonna hurt anybody. But I don't think this coaching staff likes to lose. I don't think that narrative rings true. I think they've been trying to win games, and finally they've put together and they've gotten over that hump where they haven't shot themselves in the foot, and they won in spite of themselves.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the coaching debate. I'm gonna let that play out on the Discord,
of course,
between Hummer and whoever, or So, when I read that was a lot of scrolling this morning as I drank my morning coffee. Good, solid points on both sides, but it's a moot point because we don't. We got what we got, right? We're not firing Satterfield and hiring Jimbo Fisher tomorrow. That's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. So let's move past the football here. Although we're still on topic, Darin. I tweeted out last night. I tagged you in it that the beer strike should have lasted 7 weeks. I think it lasted 3. So that's 4 weeks of punishment, or 4 weeks of drinking that I need to atone for my cutting it out early. 4 is not a crazy number. I feel as though I could probably. It was suggested. I'm not just coming up with this. It was suggested that I, shotgun a Cincy Light for every week that I cut it out early. I think I could do 4 on a show. If next week people want to tune in, if you have other suggestions, Darin, but for right now, I'm going to go with I will shotgun 4 Cincy Lights next Sunday, or on our next recording. We usually record on Sundays, so 4 of them in an episode. I think that's doable for me in my life right now.
All right.
We'll go with that then. So we'll make that a thing. I'll do one every 15 minutes or something on the episode. We'll figure it out. But I'll take the punishment to try to keep some shred of credibility here. So that's what we'll go with. Let's talk basketball, Bearcats. Though I have been so excited for this season to finally get started. On our last episode that you couldn't join us for because you were off getting married and then a honeymoon and living life here. But Terry Nelson gave us a phenomenal season preview. It gave us great stuff on that episode, and a lot of stuff that he's thrown out, or he threw out on that episode. A lot of that stuff has played out on the court so far. Basketball Bearcats being 3-0 after beating Eastern Washington earlier today. And that was, although, well, they didn't cover, but we'll talk about that in a second, I guess. Starting out 3-0 on the season, and there's a lot to like about the team. We've had some unfortunate news that it seems Aziz Bandango will not be able to suit up anytime soon, although maybe there's, I don't know how long legal action is what people are saying, but that seems like it would take forever. So unfortunately, he will not be in a Bearcats uniform anytime soon. Jamil Reynolds, we're still waiting to hear back on. But so far, the Bearcats have held their own in the first 3 games. And I'm at times, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. Definitely bringing an exciting brand of basketball to the floor so far.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been fun to watch. Today was obviously your first game is always going to be your first test. Just because it's your first. But today was definitely probably our first serious test. Despite the record, Eastern Washington is a solid team.
They're expected to, like, they've won the Big Sky conference like a lot, like recently. Like they've had a recent success in their conference. So keep going. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, obviously you would hope that your talent prevails and you separate yourself. We saw a little bit of separation towards down the stretch. Not enough, probably for some people's liking, but you know, Eastern Washington also didn't like give up and just take it, lay down, take it. They even tried to rally down 10 at a certain point with under a minute. So
that final turnover cost me my spread and my parlay for the weekend. They put on the full court pressure and we handed it to them for a layup. So I wasn't happy about that. But yeah, you're right. They were not going to give up. They had their Cowherd had 21 points for him, and another guy 16. For the Bearcats, Vic Lockin put in work today. He had two threes. The second one, he could have just turned around and walked down the floor because he knew it was in as soon as he shot it. So I love that confidence. He finished with 26 and 11. Definitely like to see that version of Big Vic going forward here. Has there been any from the games that you've watched or what you've seen so far? Has there been a player that surprised you the most out of the first 3 games?
Jizzle for sure.
Jizzle?
We knew he was going to be good. At least he's a talented freshman, but I mean, he's been contributing valuable minutes. Not just okay, you play well enough for rotation. I can trust you about. He had 13 points a day off the bench. So. Although you could argue that it was close to starting minutes at that point, but actually second, I think looking at it, he's second. He had the second fewest minutes today, so right behind Reed. Still,
efficient.
Efficient. 13 points. He wastes none of his opportunity there. He just looks like he belongs, and that is great to see from a freshman right off the bat. Obviously, announcers were not surprised. They were talking up his AAU experience and his ratings. But it's just good to see that paying dividends right away.
So Jizzle probably he's up there as far as surprises. I know the competition. It's UIC and Detroit Mercy and Eastern Washington, and it's going to get much harder. But between Jizzle and Day Thomas, they through 3 games, he's averaging 3 turnovers a game, and Day is averaging 1. That is not bad at all. When you're talking about 2 guys that's never played at this level. First 3 games, you're nervous. You're trying to figure out what your role is. You're trying to still learn the offense. There's so many variables there that you're trying to play into. So those 2 having minimal turnovers is a good sign, or their trustability when you're going to rely on them to handle the ball going forward.
Yeah, no, just to see those guys contribute, like you said, especially at a level they haven't touched yet. It's good. You're seeing West Ball come together at this point. So there's buy-in. There's people are playing their roles, and they're trying to keep it together while help arrives. Down the stretch with the legal system. So the kids will be all right, as they say.
For sure.
So I think we'll be able to compete with them. Obviously, it's 3 games in, but getting that confidence up early and seeing those contributions is a great start, because you're going to need every single bit of effort out of this roster. You just are. So that is appreciated at this point.
So we on social media, on the pod, wherever, the debate of how valuable John Newman was to this team. We had this debate last year when obviously he was hurt. The question was, would he have really made that big of a difference for this team last year? I kind of lean towards yes, just because he has a high motor. He's running around everywhere. We've seen in 3 games 3 very emphatic dunks from him. We see him guard if they're guarding 1-on-1 and you find John Newman lined up across from you, like bad things or things are not going to go your way usually. So I think, hopefully he can stay healthy. I definitely want to see what sort of work he can put in for the rest of the season. But I think so far, he's averaging like 23 minutes a game, 9.5. Well, this is through first 2 games. I don't have all the games stats here up to date, but through the first 2 games, he was averaging 9.5, and then today he had 10. So he's still almost averaging double digits. He's been a great welcome back, great addition, if you could call it that, since he's been on the team, but sort of making old things new again. Definitely love the energy out of him, and I think we can definitely get better as a team on defense. But John Newman's going to lead the way, defending the team's best player or what have you. Love his energy on both sides of the floor so far through 3 games.
It can't be overstated the need for a defensive energy guy at this level of ball. That momentum is infectious.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It can get things going. It can change the outlook of a game just like that. Even if it seems like the smallest insignificant thing, just the right block, the right shutdown, denying points on a run, or it just can flip the script. So the person doesn't always have to be the person leading the points and the golden hand there. The contribution can come in other ways, and you need guys like that on your team to succeed at this level.
Yeah, for sure. So the first game, especially, the defense left a lot to be desired for the Bearcats. Basically, a layup line for UIC, and we saw that at times last year, maybe more than we definitely wanted to see. To see what Miller does with the defense, what he can throw at them. We have seen full court pressure on the ball already this season, something that we hadn't seen in very much at all in the first 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see how the defense evolves and what they can do. Of course, Bearcats, basketball, football, whatever, sort of, hang our hats on being able to play solid defense. So that's something to keep an eye on. And also free throw shooting. I think I'm going to do a deep dive here later this evening when we get off and look at what year we had our best free throw shooting percentage, because every year it just seems like it is mediocre at best. We shot 67% today, which is an improvement because the first 2 games they shot 53%, which is atrocious for a D1 basketball team. 53%. That's like, I think Shaq could hit 53%. So that's another thing that can cost us some games down the road once we start Big 12 play. That I would like to see get so much better. I would love to be around like the 77% mark. That I would be much more comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just looking at. We got a huge stretch coming up. North Kentucky's not going to just let us walk in there.
They beat us last year.
They beat us last year. Yeah. Actually, sorry. They're going to. We already walked in there last year and got limped out. They're not going to let us leave alive in our own arena here. And then looking way ahead of Xavier, you got to make your free throws against teams like this. They want a chunk of us, and part of that is hitting those free throws, getting the points where you can, and building off of that. Those are important, especially because once you get into Big 12 play, you're still hitting your free throws. Sorry about your luck, kid. Not to say that's road. Yeah, that can be the difference maker. It's not about that being, where we get our points from. It's about that contributing and handling business and doing the small things right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. This stretch is going to be, I think there's going to be an uptick in competition here in the next 5 games, a little bit different if you're breaking down the schedule in segments. The first 3, we kind of got our legs under us here. We got our warm up. Northern Kentucky, yeah, shouldn't be, but they dominated this last year. Georgia Tech, ACC school, they got a new coach, but I mean, they're going to have talent. They're going to have some guys that can put the ball in the hole. And then you got Howard, you got Florida Gulf Coast, who made their name when they made a tournament run, a handful of years ago now. And then that Saturday, December 9th, a lot of people's moods is going to be determined at that game. I realized, Darin, that I have an away game for my basketball team that day, and it's like the furthest that we'll travel for the entire season. But we should be home. We should a 6:30 tip. We should be home for that. So that's going to be a long day of basketball. But I'm already counting down the days, and then the next day, the December 10th, the Sunday, that's the women's crosstown shootout, which I will be in attendance for. I've never been to the women's version of the crosstown shootout, so high hopes that we can just sweep the weekend there, and I'll be in attendance for at least one of those games. So big weekend there coming up in less than a month.
Yeah, I mean, you should honestly see if you can get some discount tickets for your players or something like that for that.
We did.
Yeah,
we 100%. That's exactly what we're doing. We went to
awesome.
a random game last year. The Bearcats won and had a good time. They threw up our team name and threw us up on the jumbotron or whatever. And my ticket guy Daniel is apparently no longer at the ticket office. But I talked to, I think, Zane, who is now my ticket guy, and he hooked us up. So yeah, we'll be taking about 20 people to the crosstown shootout. So
perfect.
We're super excited for that.
Perfect. Yeah, always good. See, low key recruiting. But yeah, no, that should be a good weekend. Hopefully, hopefully, your team wins, and then hopefully our team wins.
Hopefully another 3-0 weekend there.
3-0 weekend.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, we'll take it. Speaking of the women's team, sort of transitioning here, the last thing that I really have on the outline that I didn't even really put together here, the women's team they've only played one game so far, and they lost to number 17 Louisville. It looked like it was I didn't get to watch it because I had practice, but it looked like it was a hard fought game. It was definitely within reach, I guess, for them. I don't think they got blew out, and they don't play again until this Wednesday, I believe. So definitely want to try to follow along with them more as the season goes on and see what Coach Merriweather what she can do for the program here. I've also reached out, Darin, to UC, which is hit or miss if you're an obscure podcast that drinks beer like this one. But I have asked to talk to someone and bring them on the show from the women's basketball staff. So we'll see if anyone gets back to us on that and see if we can't get them some screen time and sort of look inside what they're trying to do with the program this year too. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. I've not had a lot of luck reaching out to these guys in general, not just the women's team, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get them on here.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, just looking back at this game, obviously Louisville at this point is just a powerhouse for the women's side. First quarter we were hanging tough with them. By the end of the first quarter, we were up on them actually, and then midway through the second, they just went on a run there. So going into halftime, 36-22, Louisville at that point. But third quarter, we started to fight back. So we're down by the closest we pulled into was within, I want to say, like 8 or so. But to hang around with a powerhouse like that, while under new management and entering a new league, it's a good start. It's a good start. Obviously, you want to win every game, but we're just not there yet in terms of who we're recruiting. First game, new coach, new coaching staff. but that bodes well. That's a good first step in the right direction. Obviously hoping that they can follow it up against Lindenwood.
Mhm.
That is going to be at home the 15th and 11 a.m. tip. So a little early. Get your
Yeah,
coffee and
that's weird.
donuts.
Yeah.
But we at this point we've known for a while they kind of do women's sports a little dirty when it comes to the timing.
Yeah.
On a Wednesday of all
On a
things too.
Wednesday, yeah, of all things.
So yeah, if you're a student in on campus or a faculty member who's got a little bit of time, maybe take an early lunch, see if the box office has some tickets for you, and go in and support our girls.
Absolutely. They got two I guess unranked matchups here with Lindenwood, like you said, and then Toledo before number 20 Colorado comes to Fifth Third Arena on the 23rd. So that's right. That's like that's one thing. Is that Thanksgiving?
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Another weird date, but hey, maybe have some turkey and go watch a top 25 matchup for the Bearcats. So
Yeah,
good times. We'll see if we can't get them on there, and we'll follow that journey as well as we are just starting the basketball season that I'm super pumped for. So I don't know. Well, I think we can leave it there, man. We covered a lot of stuff here in 52 minutes. I think we'll try to. The schedule was a little wonky. Life for both of us. We had a lot going on, so maybe we can get back on track here and carve out our hour of therapy or venting or what have you as we march on into basketball season.
absolutely.
I will. I'll leave everyone with this. Cheers and go Bearcats.
Go Bearcats.